Stoic discipline was never meant to be only physical. It was always mental. The real question is this: how do you command yourself? How do you build a mind as strong as your body? How do you rule your inner world the same way empires once ruled the outer one? How do you move through life without being constantly provoked, unsettled, or emotionally dragged around by every stimulus? How do you stop becoming a servant to impulse, appetite, ambition, and craving? That is the challenge. Not just because social media is engineered to hijack attention, not just because junk food is designed to be irresistible, but because indiscipline has become normal, and worse, contagious, when everyone else is cutting corners, indulging freely, and facing no immediate consequences. Discipline begins to feel unnecessary, even foolish. It becomes harder to demand restraint from yourself when the world rewards the opposite. This is how slavery begins. Seneca warned that a person does not need chains to be enslaved. Addiction can do it. Impulse can do it. Ambition can do it. He tells the story of a great Roman general, someone who commanded legions, conquered territories, and shaped history. And yet Seneca says, while that man commanded armies, ambition commanded him. That is the real battle. Who is in charge? The higher self or the lower one? Sometimes discipline is dramatic. Sometimes it is painfully simple. It's choosing cold water when comfort is available. It's saying no when indulgence is easy. It's recognizing the moment when you already have enough and stopping. None of this feels heroic. All of it is difficult. This emotional discipline, this temperamental control, sits at the center of Stoic practice. And it's why one of the most disciplined figures of the modern age wasn't an athlete or a warrior, but Queen Elizabeth II, not because the role was symbolic. It wasn't. The job was physically demanding beyond what most people imagine. She traveled millions of miles, shook millions of hands, delivered thousands of speeches, attended thousands of events. She stood for hours every day, well into old age. It was said she fell asleep in public only once during a lecture on magnets in her 80s. But physical endurance wasn't what made her remarkable. What mattered was this: she spent nearly 70 years in the public eye without publicly expressing personal opinion, without complaining, without emotional display. One of her secretaries said her true greatness was quietness. In a world obsessed with expression, she mastered restraint. That may not seem impressive at first glance, but look around. Plenty of powerful people can't do it. You see individuals with enormous influence, vast resources, critical responsibilities, who still wake up every day unable to resist public conflict, reaction, and emotional outbursts. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we always have the power to have no opinion. Most people don't exercise that power. Instead, they are constantly pulled into reacting, into commenting, into having a take on everything. Philosophy is meant to interrupt that process. It asks you to pause, to zoom out, to examine your thoughts before obeying them. Is this true? Is this important? Does this need to be said? And sometimes the most disciplined answer is silence. You don't have to eliminate opinion. You just don't have to broadcast it. That restraint is not weakness. It is control, and control is a skill, a habit, a discipline. Seneca used the word euthymia, often translated as tranquility, but what he meant was deeper. Euthymia is knowing the path you are on, and having the strength not to be distracted by paths that cross yours. Especially, he says, the paths of those who are hopelessly lost. That is the hard part. Can you stay focused when others drift? Can you stay grounded when others panic? Can you stay disciplined when chaos surrounds you? This requires training, just like the body does. Running, swimming, martial arts. Mental discipline is no different. And this is the central challenge of our time. Not to be driven insane by insanity. Not to be corrupted by corruption. Not to be fractured by endless distraction. Not to be broken by brokenness. We must cultivate this strength, this calm, this discipline, and we must stay focused on what matters. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.